Why are many people proud of being illiterate and willfully ignorant? I'm not reading allat. I used to work in a bookstore, and we would regularly get customers who were angry about the proposition of reading. It was often parents with their child's school reading list, upset that their child was required to read. This time of year there was always a surge in people angrily returning books they'd received as gifts, as if it was an insult. I can only surmise that a lot of people simply hate the concept of literacy, so they can insist on whatever they are saying. Or like my mother-in-law, she just hates me. So if I provide a "oh that's not true" example, she goes, "I am not listening, reading that." I don't blame people who don't want to read long comments on Reddit. I don't always care to either. But I agree that I have to roll my eyes when people proudly say they never read books or even any scientific articles or journals, and simply make up their mind of the world with common sense, aka biased chance encounters, and fill the void of knowledge with snippets of false narratives from popular media and hearsay. It's fine if you just don't have that intellectual curiosity and your skills and hobbies are fully elsewhere. But the fact that people carry their ignorance as a badge of honor sometimes is what worries me. After a longer break from reading due to hectic work hours, I got back to reading books regularly, and I must say, even just engaging with information in that format for 25 hours a week will seriously expand your perception and understanding of the world, and improve your mood, memory and cognition. If you've never read for pleasure before, there will be a learning curve to get your mind engaged in it. But once you pass that, you'll certainly reap the rewards from it. I remember during peak COVID, there were certain COVID deniers who would post a wall of text in any argument. A wall of text that also had like 5+ links to blogs with more walls of text. Sometimes it's just not worth engaging with people because they don't actually care to understand your POV and cater their arguments to what you've said. They just want to overload you with info that they think is right. And in those moments I will proudly say, I'm not reading allat. The Gish Gallop is a rhetorical technique in which a person in a debate attempts to overwhelm their opponent by providing an excessive number of arguments with no regard for the accuracy or strength of those arguments. Gaslit people don't like when all their gas is let out by facts and reality. They aren't going to be wrong, and no amount of facts is going to change that. It's not cause they can't, it's because they don't want to. Because most people listen, and read, to respond, not to try to understand. Why did you put people in quotes? A wall of badly formatted and formulated text isn't worth the time to read, let alone write a response to. I can only speak for myself, but I say, not read an allat, when I can tell that the other person is arguing in bad faith. It's a light-hearted way to tell them that I see what they're doing and am not going to waste my time. I read books and articles and science journals back when I was being graded on it. I am informed, etc. Long-ass Reddit posts, comments have nothing to do with that. Reddit is my downtime, and it's more downtime than my reading downtime. That means my brain is broken from no sleep and 8 hours of work. Now, to be fair, I don't usually proclaim this in a comment, I just scroll lol. I think the people behaving that way in an argument are being trolls is all. They just don't want to read allat because they don't care what you say. Tears of joy. Some people believe their ignorance is just as valid as facts. It is the world they live in, and it works just fine. To their knowledge, time has value. If somebody is trying to convince me that the 2020 election really was rigged for Biden, or that Israel actually carried out the recent bombing in Iran that ISIS is claiming credit for by linking to a 40-page proof from a blogger I've never heard of. That's a not good faith effort to change my mind. It's an attempt to make me think I have to choose between conceding an internet argument or wasting 20 hours reading something full of factual errors to rebut a link somebody spent 2 minutes Googling. Now, if I'm legitimately confused about something I don't already know a lot about but also don't need to know for work, life, finances, like a question about general relativity, and somebody points me to a 40-page, GR for Dummies, write-up, I might still decide the time spent reading it isn't worth it just to satisfy my curiosity. But I would be willing to accept the link was a good faith effort to point me in the right direction and provide me with information. And some things really can't be well explained in a tweet or even a long Reddit post. Worst I'd say at that point is, thanks for the info. This looks like it's worth reading, but I don't have the time right now. Kind of wonder how many examples you've observed or that you are characterizing as demonstrating pride in ignorance, or really just more like the first case. Why did you put quotes around people? It's because it's not about evidence supporting a certain position. I think what you're describing is when people feel like they or their people are under attack from the outside. Why would they believe someone they think will clearly be lying in order to deceive and harm them? It's more profitable to ask about their position, who taught them those positions, and what values they are trying to protect by refusing outside evidence. I wouldn't say that means they are proud of being illiterate, but sometimes some Reddit nonsense isn't worth your whole day researching one-off things to prove lizard people aren't real or whatever. It excuses an individual from responsibility to educate themselves when they encounter information that may challenge their worldview if they allowed themselves to consider it. Those same people can spend hours a day reading, listening to things that affirm what they already believe. There's a certain political spectrum that falls into this trap. Back during the COVID pandemic, Stats Canada put out a statement that there were no excess deaths. The far-right conspiracy theorists took this to mean that the pandemic was a scam. If they actually read the statement instead of the headline, they would have learned that Health Canada initially predicted 100,000 plus deaths due to the pandemic. However, there were only 20,000 or so. So, since 20,000 less than 100,000, that's regarded as no excess. The conspiracy nuts also said that there was no spike, and posted a graph of the number of deaths, which clearly showed a massive spike in the number of deaths between March 2020 and August 2020. Like 20,000 people died during that time frame. Some people just don't enjoy reading. I read everything I could get my hands on from about as soon as I could read. My brother finds reading completely tedious, and I'll bet he has never read a book just to enjoy it. He's smart, had a great job, retired, but just does not enjoy reading. Much like I pretty much despise mathematics.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.